pleasant good morning to all of you. Welcome to another week's edition of the People's National Congress press statement. Today's press statement will be read by a member of the Central Executive Committee Executive. His name is Mr. Aubrey Norton. So without further ado, I will introduce Mr. Norton and ask him to read today's press statement.
Good morning. Today we want to deal with the hypocrisy of the PPP. The People's National Congress reform once again calls attention to the lies and hypocritical rhetoric being peddled by the dishonest PPP on a daily basis. The PNCR has long supported the creation of better jobs that support better incomes for people that put more money in their pockets. We believe that families should be able to make ends meet and enjoy a better standard of living with better services without having to worry about what the future holds. Under the honest leadership of President David Granger, we have made significant strides towards achieving this. We are building and maintaining critical infrastructure to support economic growth and drive sustainable job creation. Increased investment into our healthcare system has seen more people than ever able to access important healthcare services. We are transforming our education system to prepare people, particularly young people, for the jobs of the future. We have cleaned up the streets of our capital to attract investment and support jobs at all levels, from market vendors to professional services. We have reduced serious crime by almost 30%, and for the first time in decades, Guyanese are being united so that we can move forward together as a nation. We have come a long way, but there's still more we want to do to ensure a better standard of living for all Guyanese. Even today, they continue their campaign of dishonesty and misinformation to try and force an election on a bloated electoral list, a list that we all know is susceptible to massive voter fraud. They are desperate to keep tens of thousands of voters who it cannot be proved even exist on this electoral list. The question is, why? They say it will disenfranchise people, but people who do not exist cannot be disenfranchised. These are phantom voters, and the PPP are obviously not bothered about disenfranchising people, for it was the PPP who stood against house-to-house registration in a move that will clearly disenfranchise thousands of Guyanese youths. The truth is, the PPP wants a bloated electoral list that would give Guyanese a dishonest election and which will give people a government they cannot trust, a PPP government. They want to get their hands on Guyana's oil through whatever illegitimate means possible. They want to stop the progress of this government and take Guyanese back to the chaos of the past. Guyanese do not want to go back to the past. The PPP's track record of failure is second to none. They proved during their 23 years that they cannot be trusted with Guyana or to address the issues that matter in Guyana. Under PPP, the scramble to build a narco state meant that real sustainable industries were left abandoned and neglected, and along with them, the many tens of thousands of people who were employed in those industries. Look no further than our centuries-old sugar industry, which was taken from profit to collapse under the PPP's watch. We cannot forget the forced closures of Diamond, LBI, and Wales as the PPP drove the destruction of the sugar industry through the reckless mismanagement, cronyism, and trademark pilfering. We cannot forget the brutal crackdown when sugar workers protested. The PPP left Guyanese forking out a staggering $12 billion a year in subsidies to the sugar industry alone to cover up their lies and failure to strengthen the industry. It was not just sugar the sugar industry that was destroyed. Our manufacturing industry was decimated along with its jobs and valuable opportunities to build value chains and create high income opportunities for our people. By the time the PPP reign of economic destruction had ended, only 2 industrial and manufacturing hubs remained operational in Guyana, in Eccles and Belvedere. These had become little more than storage and warehousing facilities. The PPP failed our youth, leaving them without the skills and means to secure a job in the modern workforce and command a decent salary. The PPP did not deliver a fit-for-purpose education system that prepared young people for the world. On the contrary, they did nothing and continued to use a curriculum developed in the 1970s. They made university more expensive and inaccessible than ever for young people by putting an end to free university education. Moreover, despite taking money from poor students' pockets, they failed to invest into developing and improving the university system, something which this government consistently does. The PPP has sent Guyanese a clear signal that it does not value education by putting forward Irfan Ali, a dishonest man who was unable to prove his own education and qualification as its presidential candidate. Guyana needs honest leadership, leadership that people can trust. Only David Granger has the honesty, qualification, and vision for people to secure a better future for Guyana. With the country's oil prospects on the horizon, good governance is more important now than ever before. The alternative is a return to the chaos and dishonesty of the PPP government of the past, led by Irfan Ali, who wants to stop the progress that is being made. He will only put people's jobs at risk and once again leave our youths without hope for the future. Together, let us keep moving forward and secure a better future for Guyana by voting for President Granger and the APNU plus AFC coalition at the next elections. Thank you.
Member, please don't close your Guyana, the mirror waves on one news. Sorry, you mentioned about the phantom persons on the voters list. Are you saying, or are you alluding to the 25,000 names that the GCOM chair intend to remove? If you're referring to those, and is your party in support of the removal of those persons who have not collected those ID cards?
Well, first of all, I think the party has already stated that it is in support of the removal. But when we talk about phantom voters, we talk about the 25,000 and others. Look, we were insisting on the house-to-house registration because we knew that would give an opportunity to clean up the list. We know many issues intervene. But which sensible person will accept you have 25,000 people who for years haven't picked up their ID cards, will agree for them to stay on the list, when we know for a fact that many of them, they are non-existent? We have argued consistently that the People's Progressive Party consistently padded the list, and we went to the previous elections with a very padded list. We have also argued, and the evidence will suggest, that did we not have this level of padding, the APNU plus AFC would have had more than a one-seat majority. So we see this as a mechanism to ensure that the PPP can rig in their areas. So we will vigorously oppose it. We've seen that the chairman of the Elections Commission has made it pellucidly clear that it is within the confines of the law. And since it's a legal activity, we support it, and we believe it will go a far way in ensuring that when elections are held, it's a true reflection of the people's will, rather than some concocted mechanism left by the PPP when the people of Guyana voted them out of office.
Sir, the claims and objections period are just like 4 days to go. And you see GCOM just conducted about 18,000 or so transactions during this period, right? Which is a far cry from the 200 odd persons that the parties may say is on the list, that is a bloated list. How can we balance that equation?
Well, you don't have to balance the equation, you have to look at the reality. What is the reality? We have consistently argued that house-to-house registration is the best way to clean the list. Claims and objection is not the best. We ended up with it. Because with claims and objection, you have to provide the death certificates, do a number of things which you wouldn't get. How do you, if I ask you to go in a PVP stronghold and get the death certificates of the people, you think they will give it to you? They wouldn't. The PPP knew full well that if claims and objection was used, they will get a chance to maintain those phantom people. If, however, it was house to house, which they were very worried about, the people would have had to present themselves, and therefore you would have had a much cleaner list. Now, because of what happened in the courts, etc., we ended up with claims and objection, which restricts the amount of people that will be removed because of the difficulties involved in getting the documentation. What the APNU plus AFC will have to do in the light of that is to ensure we have rigorous scrutinizing of the election so that the rest of the phantoms on the voters list don't get a chance to vote, and to scrutinize to ensure the ID cards that they will come with, which they have, don't pass. In fact, what you're looking at is the PPP's plot to ensure that the list is clean at minimum and that they maintain their phantoms so that they can rig. May I state to you, claims and objection will not give you a true picture of the phantoms on the list because of the very nature of claims and objections.
Unlike the 2006 elections, where you used the voter's ID card to vote, or the identification card was used, it is now decided or been set a rule that you do not need an ID card to vote. So if we have persons turning up on polling day without an ID card, how the party intends to scrutinize?
I don't know. You need to explain to me what you mean by they have ruled.
All right, you do not need an ID card to vote. So you can go to a polling place, you say your name is so, and you do not necessarily have to produce an ID card.
But the document that they will have there will have the picture of the person. So let's assume you come, you don't have an ID card, and you don't match that picture there. You can't be allowed to vote. That's your reality. And that's why I say scrutinizing the election is going to be important. But we also have got to watch for when they come with an ID card. Because we have known cases where they come with an ID card and the person who got the ID card is not the person there. And that is why I say we have to spend a lot and do a lot to ensure we scrutinize this election so that they are worried that 25,000 will come off. You know why? Because that was a 25,000 they guaranteed through illegalities. They were in government at the time and they knew. They're out of government now. They don't have the same leverage. But we still have got to scrutinize the elections and ensure that the results of the election reflects the will of the electorate. We don't live in an ivory tower. We know that there are areas that are sometimes difficult to scrutinize. We know that our supporters pass through a lot of threats, etc. on election day. Those we are prepared to deal with, and we are prepared to do all that is necessary to ensure that we have a free and fair election and that the PPP does not get power through its normal illegal approaches.
Okay, so you're conceding that the party is going into the elections with the knowledge that there's still phantoms on the voters list?
Yes, And even if we had done the house to house, even if we had done it, we have reduced it, but you won't eliminate it. Look, the PPP has mastered some illegalities. One person can have two different names with two ID cards. It's not as easy when they're out of government, but those are things that they did. And so we don't live and bury our heads in the sand. We know we are dealing with a corrupt, dishonest political party. We've seen from their time in government that they are prone to dishonesty. I mean, just look recently, I wrote a letter in the press today pointing out how dishonest, how hypocritical, and how contemptuous Jambio is of the people of Guyana. You were a president, and you declared no. You declared no. If contracts aren't made public,
I was going to ask you.
it should be made a crime. Now, this is a man who disclosed not one contract while he was in government. In fact, Exxon contract was made public by the APNU plus AFC. This is a man who, when he was doing the low carbon development strategy, and I'm telling you from practical experience, in Guyana we knew nothing of it. I turned up representing the PNCR at a conference in London, and he pompously gets a foreign service officer to call you to ask you to support it. This is a man who, and a political party, because it's not only he, it is the culture of the party. In that article, I quote a philosopher who said that a hypocrite is one who identifies people's faults so that he could hide you. That has been the strategy of the PPP. Let's look at the sugar industry. The PPP came to power and met a sugar industry that was viable. And what did they do? They mismanaged it. They closed down LBI Estate. They closed down Diamond, Wales. Now they operate as if they didn't close any. People don't believe that they closed down many estates. They knew full well that sugar would no longer be subsidized. The European Union give them $348 billion to reorganize the sugar industry, to protect workers and create the conditions for them in a new diversified sugar industry. What did they do? They stole the money disappeared. You must ask him when you go to his press conference to identify what he did with the 348 or 24 million, I don't remember exactly which one, billion, that was given by the European Union to reorganize the sugar industry. I can tell you what they did. They took a man named Rat Singh, make him head while he lived overseas, and they paid him millions of dollars. Because he lived overseas, they also paid for him to fly home first class. So you got a man managing the sugar industry from overseas. Okay? And then, not satisfied with that, they took 72 million US dollars and placed it in the failed Skeldon factory. So you have a white elephant rather than a sugar factory producing, we call it. And for this 300 and something billion that the European Union give, what do you get? You get one, by the time you come to power in 2015, an industry that was dead. That's what they left. You got two, the PPP trying to blame this government, the same hypocrisy I'm talking about, for what they did over the years. You got three, sugar workers displaced. You got four, the PPP elite, by the time they left power, while the workers living in squalor and poverty across the country, they live in mansions at Lenora, Pradoville 1, Pradoville too, and other areas they create echoes about the country. So what you're seeing is really a set of people who destroy the sugar industry, trying to blame other people for it. And that is why we are pointing out the hypocrisy of the People's Progressive Party. And Guyanese are not stupid. They know that what they're trying to do is use the sugar workers to get power. But once they get power, they will do the same thing again. Misuse the money and leave sugar workers to punish. Let us not forget that when they closed down the estates and the sugar workers attempted to protest, they tear gas them and brutalize them and silence them. Now they try to operate as if they like sugar workers. And so you are dealing with a pack of political hypocrites. That's the reality.
Let's get back to one question, the question of criminalizing disclosure. The party being the largest in the coalition, does your party support criminalizing non-disclosure contracts?
Well, I don't know that the party has taken a policy position in it, but I can say this to you. To the extent that we have been disclosing it, is there a need to criminalize it? Yeah, the PPP, let me tell you what Jack Dew is up to here. He likes attention. He has run out of substance. He has nothing to say of substance. So he looks for an issue to create, what you call it. But I want him to agree to this. Let him agree that this government, before it closed, could pass the legislation and make it retroactively, and let's see if he's not going to be the first convict. I'm dead sure he will be the first convict under that law.
Any other questions?
Okay, let me go. I have another one. Let's say the elections does not go in favor of the coalition after March. Will the coalition go to the courts as a result of the list?
You're mixing up the PP and the coalition. The coalition is going to win the next election. First of all, we have an exceptionally good track record of performance. Secondly, we're going to continue to expose the PPP's hypocrisy, dishonesty, corruption, and the way they mistreat the Guyanese people. Third, we're going to scrutinize the election in detail. Four, even in the hinterland areas, we have delivered in 23 years far more than the PPP would have delivered. So we've delivered in 4.5 years, far more than the PPP would have delivered in 23 years. When it comes to education, we're seeing improved results in education, changes in the curriculum, etc. We've seen the creation of jobs. We've seen a reduction in crime. What I'm saying to you is based on the records of the APNU plus AFC. All we have got to do is to do our political work on the ground, and Jack Dew and the PPP will continue to be history. Here, finally, let's now look at the presidential candidates. One man puts his certificate up on the wall so everybody can see. The other one wall has to be vacant. Two, when you look at the track record of President David Granger, there is not even an accusation of corruption, which establishes that he's a decent man. You can't do the same for Irfan Ali. I said on television before, if Irfan Ali believes or wants to establish that he's honest, let us give us his salary from the time he came to government, and let us put it against his wealth, and let's see if it can stand scrutiny. You cannot have that size of property in the short time that you have them with proper mortgages, except you sold them to yourself below value, and that in itself is a crime. So I'm saying to you, any sensible person will recognize that there's no comparison between President Granger and the chap who's linked to the 40 thieves. Some barber that is calling. So I think clearly the results of this election will confirm the performance of the APUNU plus AFC. As it relates to going to court, why will we have to go to court when we win?
Irrespective of the candidates.
Irrespective of the...
Irrespective of the various candidates, will the party, if invited, be willing to debate any of the prospective presidential candidates on
Look,
issues governing them?
since I know the PNC, it has always been disposed to debate. Going back to Forbes Burnham, well, most people didn't want to debate it. Hoyt debated. Most times it is the PPP who ran from a debate. I personally, I can debate anybody in the PPP. I'm probably without research.
You willing to do so, Mr. Jandio?
Anytime. All you got to do is carry him to the moral grounds and he's dead. He cannot stand up. His immorality transcends normalcy. So we will start the debate by pointing out his mismanagement, his immorality, etc. And I don't think he will come. I saw Minister Patterson invite him to debate. Let's see if he will go. You're not talking about somebody who's prepared to stand up and challenge another person intellectually. You're talking about somebody who likes power, who likes to have media under his control. He alone talk, and the minute he's challenged, he disappears. I wish you good luck attempting to get he who believes that he's the omnipresent, omniscient, to debate anybody. I think he lacks the capacity to debate. And in a debate, it will be easy. All you got to do is irritate him and he will go crazy. Debating is not as simple as you make it.
After all the noise and then the silence, we saw the other day Mr. Ali being congratulated for being accorded a doctorate from the University of the West Indies.
Well, I don't want to comment on the doctorate yet because I don't have information. But what I know, if he got a doctorate and you have, first of all, the first degree not proven, the master's not proven, and then since I didn't hear you go there and study, it meant he was here doing it, then I don't know if he did it. So I don't think the cloud has been removed. What they attempted to do is typical PPP. Said he get a doctorate, so you forget that he was supposed to have a first degree from a university that didn't exist, a master's from one didn't exist, and so you jump till the look. If you go to any website, if university can have a website, you put in Aubrey Norton, you will see when you graduate 1 year. You go to the university, I went to England, you put it in, you will see it. Let them give us the information so we can go and put it and see where you get your first degree and second degree from. And then we could start talking. The congratulation is a man beating your own chest. I don't think they've removed the cloud of dishonesty and deception that characterize Irfan Ali's qualification.
To make a guy in the Chronicle. Mr. Norton, now, the PPP's argument, and it's a question on the ID card situation. Now, the PPP's going argument is that there is not a connection between somebody uplifting their ID card and their right to vote because you don't need an ID card to vote. What do you say to that?
If that is true, then just let the ID cards go and let the name come off the list.
But they're saying if persons don't go for their ID card, they should still be allowed to vote because a lot of persons choose not to go for it, but they still want to vote.
Look, let's deal with common sense. First of all, we produced an ID card to deal with these problems. The PPP has consistently tried to not have to use ID cards. Now, the PPP is saying you don't have to have an ID card to vote. What the PPP should do is encourage these 25,000 people. If these people exist, tell me what is wrong with their going and collect their ID card. But because they don't exist, they're trying to come up with other arguments to establish why they shouldn't come off. The PNCR's position is clear. They should come off the voters list because there's more than 15 years since those ID cards were done, and people in uplifting them, you are going to create the avenue for the PPP to continue its fraud. And so they should be off the list when it comes to voting without ID. As a political party and a coalition, we will deal with that at the right time. You know, I want to make one other point. You know, the PPP knew that all the time, but they never said anything about it. It is only now that it has been identified. They're trying to protect it. Why try to protect it if you're honest and into illegalities? Whenever we deal with the PPP, the first thing we must remember is that they have a history of dishonesty, illegality, and hypocrisy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norton. And thank you to the media for being here once again this week. See you all next week.